Winston comes in, he begins camp before then sitting the first 3 regular season games. I say good day to Jason Reid of the Undefeated. All right, we've got to reconcile here the sincerity that was certainly apparent there, and the word said with the history here, the fact that he's having these conversations. What do you make of all this?
Well, Bob, you hit on it. You said proactive. I think that's the word here. He really has tried to reach out to his teammates to let them know that he understands that he made a mistake, but that he wants to be the guy who they've seen in that locker room more days than not. He wants to be a guy who's going to lead them moving forward. And Bob, I remember a couple of years ago, I went down to Tampa and I spent some time with Jameis to do a piece on him. And what really struck me is that in that building, there really is a belief in him. And, you know, you talked about his record as a starter last year. He has not proven yet that he is that top of the draft franchise quarterback that he was picked to be. But it did strike me, like I said, that the people there really do believe in him and they like him and they care for him and they think that he can be that guy. So the fact that he's been proactive with this, I think that'll help him. But again, as you also said, we got to wait and see what he does here.
Winning obviously solves a lot of problems in the National Football League, every sport, but with a 16-game schedule, especially in the NFL. And here's the club not featuring him in any of the murals around the stadium. Whether that's an overt statement or not, it's a statement that's being made.
Well, Bob, I think when you look at the fact that this did happen and he did get this 3-game suspension, it's not surprising that the league would not move forward with him in the advertising campaigns and in the signage type things. I mean, they don't want to create a situation where they're reinforcing in people's minds, hey, this is our guy, this is the guy who we've built everything around, and look what he did. So I don't think it's shocking at all that they backed off on that type of plan at the outset of the season.
Yeah, first 3 games, the Bucs start at New Orleans, and they got the Eagles, then they got the Steelers. I mean, they could be sitting behind, even with Ryan Fitzpatrick, in an 0-3 hole when they get this guy back.
No, there's no doubt about it. You look at that schedule that you just read off, and losing your starting quarterback, no matter what he did last season, no matter where he is at in his development, he's your guy. So not having him for those 3 games, it could put them in a big hole. And if it does, you're going to, I mean, it's a team game, obviously, but you're going to look at your quarterback because of the importance of that position, and that'll be something else he'll have to climb out of that hole as well.
Speaking of living under a microscope, we've got the story that the president, Donald J. Trump, keeps attempting to breathe life into, and the NFL has now asked owners not to discuss. So naturally, asked to remain silent. Jerry Jones, he's talking about it. Killer shades, by the way, JJ. All right, it to go away from his chair, you would think, Jason, means the attention and the problem, and the players would have something different to say. But still, the negotiations are continuing. Things are frozen in place. So a lot of different things happening all around the dial on this.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, on the one hand, Jerry Jones talked about the president and the president's comments being problematic to moving forward with a possible new resolution. But on the other hand, he's also violating the current policy, even though the policy is a whole, by saying players can't stay in the locker room. So he's speaking out of both sides of his mouth. What his actions, if he actually were to force the players to stand during the anthem and not be in the locker room, that would be totally counter to what the NFL has said players can do. So, you know, he's not exactly helping the process either.
And negotiations are continuing. My understanding is a pretty good sense between the two sides that they understand each other, that the owners with the sentiments such as Jones might be the biggest factor that they have to counter here.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, the union was not given a seat at the table when this new policy was voted on in May at the meetings in Atlanta. The union wanted to have a seat in the table, but it didn't. Well, the union now has a seat at the table, in part because the owners need the union to try to deal with this situation and come to some resolution that can actually work. The current new model, the new policy, is not sustainable. You already have the Jets and the Giants who said they won't enforce it. So you're looking at a situation where the NFL owners need the union, and there is dialogue, but what Jones is doing is not helping the situation.
Back to last fall, Jones at war with the league. Last year with the commissioner. This year, more specifically, over the policy. Jason Reid, follow him, read him at theundefeated.com. Always good to speak with you.